The Jacob Media Sports Network, in partnership with 97.3 ESPN, brings you the Mays and Eytan Show.
Middays with Harry Mays and Eytan Shander.
Now, it's the Midday Show with Harry Mays and Eytan Shander on 97.3 ESPN Radio.
Well, it's the first time that we've basically been able to, you and I, talk about together in front of our audience here, depending on how you're consuming the Mays and Eytan Show.
And there's a lot of different ways to consume.
Correct. And I'm saying that the DeSean Jackson news, I think, is the most pressing thing going on right now.
It is.
And I don't know how anybody would be blaming individuals, specifically DeSean Jackson, for not electing surgery.
Why not?
Because I don't think anybody who's ever played a professional sport would agree that if you don't personally want to undergo surgery, then you don't go undergo surgery.
Yeah, I know,
That's
but I mean, it's part of being a football player. You got to get surgery.
That's not true.
Yeah, it is. It's part of being a professional athlete. There's a lot of times you're going to have to go under the knife.
You won't find one professional athlete that's played that would agree with that. That's
really?
Yes, that's us from the outside saying,
I'm just saying,
you go out there and that's like the meathead, mentality of these guys go out there and do everything. The fact that he didn't want surgery and was told, or at least through other methods.
Well, I partially blame him. I blame the organization. I blame the doctors.
The organization is who to blame.
I do. I blame them. I blame Howie Roseman for not foreseeing this and being more aggressive.
That's the biggest problem, right?
And all that sort of thing.
But how are you going to blame DeSean?
Well, because I am.
It doesn't make any sense.
Well, because as part of it, I could just put myself in that situation, and the doctors are saying, well, you could elect to have surgery, and you could be back most likely by X. Or you can try to rehab it on your own without surgery, and we'll try to manage it and try to get you ready and blah, blah, blah. But there's no guarantees. And, oh, by the way, and I'm like thinking, hey, I'd like to be back with my team and give it the best I can way before the playoffs and sort of, be ready by the bye week, whatever the case may be, 7-8 weeks from now. Let's go get it done. Boom.
There was no guarantee that the surgery would get him back in 4 weeks. There was zero guarantees about that.
But it was recommended.
It was recommended by team doctors more so than his.
They had independent people too.
And that's what happened is his own people, the people that he had independently. And look, the problem that you run into when you blame the player or when you hold the player higher than Howie Roseman, and I agree, Roseman is the biggest problem here, is that the team doesn't have DeSean's long-term interest. We know that.
Well, no. What is long-term interest?
Like anything after most likely this year.
Well, that's what I'm saying. There is no long-term interest, period.
Well, there is from a player's standpoint, and that's where I think the disconnect lies in the blaming of DeSean.
Well, his career's winding down.
Absolutely.
Okay, so wouldn't you, if you were him, if you're thinking, man, I only have so much time left, the quicker I can get back and contribute here, I just signed a contract with these guys, let's go, I want to play.
I don't think that it was an automatic correlation. And the bottom line is that the Philadelphia Eagles did not need DeSean Jackson back on the field if, in fact, Howie Roseman made a trade or brought in somebody other than Jordan Matthews. Here's the thing. I think I'll meet you halfway. I think you aren't even upset with DeSean Jackson today if Howie Roseman and the front office handled their business in the offseason and in midseason.
Well, yeah, the draft pick of J.J. Arcega-Whiteside has given them nothing.
It's a great place
when
to
I start looking at DK Metcalf, for example, that's one example. That's not the only example, I'm sure. But it's the most recent.
The kid in Washington.
A kid from Ohio State,
right.
Whose name escapes me at this point. McLaurin,
right.
Yeah, Terry McLaurin, who, was really good against the Eagles in week 1, and he was taken in the 3rd round. And I'm thinking, like, dude, and I didn't know what we had with J.J. Arcega-Whiteside or what we didn't have at that point. Now it looks like we don't have anything because we got Doug saying that he can play all these different positions. You can move him here and do this. Yet he can't get on the field, and yet they're playing some bum named Mac Hollins, who they took in the 3rd round, I believe, who's a great special teamer. So the whole thing stinks.
It does.
All right?
And they had an opportunity to make a trade. They had an opportunity to put in a bid for Josh Gordon.
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
And now here we are sitting. And
who's also no guarantee, though. Let's be fair.
No. But here's the thing. You need something. And the team, and this is why I blame Howie and the front office for more than just not getting a body. the team has put people in an unfortunate situation where they have to talk themselves through justifying the signing of Antonio Brown because this team has completely either neglected or, to your point about JJ in the draft, just missed. I don't know what's worse, neglecting or flat out missing.
Okay, well, they missed on Mac Hollins. I don't know that they've officially missed with Ortega-Whiteside. He's been in the league for 9 games, okay? So
fact that he can't get – okay, but –
I agree, but I can't sit here and say through 9 games that a guy is an absolute bust. It's not looking good.
Okay,
and
you're right.
I'm amazed that he can't get on the field given the shortcomings with the team. I give you that.
That's the issue.
But – I can't sit here and say that he's, we throw him in the garbage. Just, okay? That's a little early.
Okay,
he was a second-round pick. It's not like he was a 5th or 6th-round pick.
It's not so much that his career's over, but I think it's a major statement that he can't get on the field when this wide receiver core is so bad. And I guess the major statement I'm saying about JJ right now is that they're actually going out to try to bring people to play like Jordan Matthews, Dez Bryant, that would be higher. Like it's not even like a back end position. And and I also hear some people going out and being like, they need to get somebody that's better than Mac Hollins. They need to get somebody that's better than Mac Hollins.
Is Crabtree out there?
Listen, if all you're looking to do right now is to get somebody that's better than Mac Hollins, I think you're missing the point.
No, I agree. That shouldn't be that hard to find, though.
Yes.
Even on the scrap heap.
It shouldn't be that hard to find, but that doesn't equal, like the team isn't a Mac Hollins replacement away.
No, you're right.
And I don't think there's anybody, look, Crabtree's probably the fastest of the guys that we mentioned, but there isn't any burner out there.
I mean, what does Dez Bryant have left after the Achilles injury? And the fact that no other team, and there's other teams that could use wide receivers too, appears as even ringing his phone. So that should scare you, right?
Yeah, I think, are you just at a point right now, where you
need a body?
Yeah. Yeah. I think, look, DeSean Jackson, that situation, moving forward, that situation now just is more about what this team should have done and now can't do because the trade deadline's gone and, you're looking at guys like Dez Bryant that you mentioned. So what happens now? What does bringing in, are they actually better off bringing in Dez Bryant or bringing in anybody other than Antonio Brown at this point? Or is it just,
Antonio Brown's a different
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Other than Antonio Brown. So put him on ice for a second. But I'm curious.
He might be soon.
He might be. And he might be facing a suspension. You don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
I guess my question, Harry, to you, specifically to you in the text board as well, 609-403-0973, is does bringing in a guy who is maybe third on your depth chart really doing anything at this point?
Well, third on your depth chart only because he doesn't play the slot. Because when I'm looking at third on the depth chart, I'm looking at it as he can be on the field with Alshon and Aguilar and actually be a guy where the quarterback might want to look his way and throw him the damn football. Okay, because whether he's third on the depth chart or second, it doesn't really matter. As long as he's a guy that can get open and have the trust of the quarterback to throw him the ball. Because it doesn't seem like Carson has a whole lot of trust in Nelson Aguilar either.
No.
Okay?
And he threw another one to him on Sunday against the Bears that didn't end up well. I think if you have, let's look at this through.
You know what I'm saying? Like
but if you have Alshon.
The place on the depth chart is sort of like positions in basketball. You know what I mean? Where it's like, well, you could say this guy, he's a 5, but he can really guard all positions, and it's sort of like that position. Does it really matter if he's third or second or fourth as long as he can get on the field and make a play?
Not even so much third on the depth chart as like what would be the third best or maybe fourth best receiver. I mean, you're splitting hairs maybe with Dallas Goedert, who you bring in at that point, but he's not.
Let's leave them out of it. Let's leave the tight ends out of it.
I mean, you have to throw. Okay, but to your point about.
Because they're going to get throws and make plays.
To positionless receivers and to equate it to the NBA.
Are we going to put Miles Sanders out at wide out?
No, it's just a matter about who is a target.
It might not be a bad option.
That's what I'm saying. So if Miles Sanders is on the field, if Alshon Jeffrey, Nelson Aguilar, Zach Ertz are on the field, and you want to bring in a fifth receiver, is it Dallas Goedert or Dez Bryant? at this point. That's my point in all of this. Are you really that much better of a team if you're arguing or splitting hairs over bringing in somebody that would be the third,
if you work
at best, fourth most likely option?
If you work the guy out and you decide he's good enough to bring in, right, isn't it worth maybe deactivating Arcega-Whiteside and actually putting a guy in uniform ready to go that could actually maybe be called upon to get on the field and make a play? Because the other guy's doing nothing, and Mac Hollins does nothing except special teams. They need another wide receiver.
I guess.
I mean,
but for what? That's the point. Like, is Alshon Jeffrey on one side and Des Bryant on another side able to move the football down the field? No, you're going to wind up throwing this Nelson Aguilar again deep down the field, and we know how that goes.
I don't know.
Zach Ertz.
I don't know, but I'm willing to look at anything at this point because now I don't think DeSean will ever play again this season.
No, he's okay.
I think he's cooked.
No, he won't play.
And that's what pisses me off about it, that this surgery could have been done in week 2, and he possibly could be gearing up to being back for a New England game or a Seattle game and going forward, and that pisses me off as a fan. That's all.
Okay.
And I can't take him totally off the griddle for it. I just can't.
No, I think ultimately the Philadelphia Eagles right now, I think people are looking at this whole thing with DeSean and the wideouts, like bringing in a body is going to fix it. And I think it won't do anything more than apply a Band-Aid to a team that's not playoff bound or at the very least playoff worthy, meaning they're going to do anything in the postseason.
Well, they could be playoff bound. I don't know. If they get a home game, if they get a home game, they could win a home game, couldn't they? You're going to win the division. You're playing at home.
At this point, I think it's so far out that even if they got in, I'd have to examine where they are right now. Like I don't know. Here's the thing: if they make the playoffs, I don't think they win that game. No matter where it is.
Really? It would be at home because they're not getting in as a wild card. Right. We can pretty much be assured of that, right?
I think so, yeah. I mean, outside of what's going on in the NFC North, I think that. But I don't think at the moment, I don't think they win a playoff game. I don't think they're better than any of these teams that are in the playoffs right now. I mean, think about that. I get it. Like, Minnesota came here and they got their ass kicked 2 years ago, and it's tough to play at the Link. But you know who didn't get their ass kicked? The team right before them, Atlanta. They almost won that football game outside of a bounce here or there.
Right.
I think if you have talent and if you're rolling, I don't even want to talk about the playoffs. My point of it is this. I think the biggest issue for people to be frustrated at today is something that can't be fixed in the next week. And that's what drives people to say, sign Jordan Matthews, sign Antonio Brown, sign anybody that you can.
Because you don't want to give up on the season. You're 5-4 at the bye.
But fans didn't give up on the season. Howie Roseman gave up on the season by not look, if we're going to lay into Andy McPhail and Matt Klentak for not addressing where the Phillies were at the wild card spot, technically at the non-waiver deadline, then we should be laying into Howie Roseman equally as much.
Well, you know, there are similarities to that in that the Phillies overvalued the 2, 3, 4 guys or 3, 4, 5 guys, however you want to put them in their in their starting rotation from the beginning of the season. And they maintained that belief, apparently, pretty much through the deadline. I mean, they got scrap heap guys, what's his name, from the Mets, and they got that junk ball guy where there was Vargas. Smiley and Vargas and all these slop guys because that's, they didn't want to give up anything. They realized they probably weren't good enough, but we got to get something. Okay, you could look at it sort of like the Eagles. Like, hey, you realize that Mac Hollins isn't good enough. Aguilar's not giving you enough, and this other kid you drafted isn't ready yet.
Right.
So you should do something. They chose not to.
No, and now I think it's too late. It's too late. Like, you could have brought in...
Well, now especially because we know about the definitiveness of DeSean.
Correct. Which, again... To the people that, like you, who are upset about DeSean, you don't think Howie Roseman knew this? You don't think the front office, do you really think the front office, Howie Roseman, was taken aback and taken by shock with the news that DeSean would be out for the next 6 weeks? They knew that there was a real strong possibility that he would be back and either unable to go or delayed, and yet they did nothing.
Mm-hmm.
They did nothing. And now I think what happens is people want to overcompensate. Oh, well, to your point about saving the season.
Well, it's overcompensating. You're not going to have to give up anything for anybody that you get now.
No, but I think that the expectation – look, go out and sign whoever the hell you want, but don't expect Des Bryant to come in here.
No, I'm not.
I think that there is a mentality. Anybody who wants Jordan Matthews is expecting Jordan Matthews to come in here and actually do something
And be like he was, 4 years ago?
Whenever
it was.
609.
We actually had a good year or a year and a half. I don't know. And I don't expect that. But I got to figure that whoever they bring in and eventually sign, if they do, has to be able to give me more than a Hollins or an Ortega-Whiteside. And maybe even an Aguilar. Who knows?
Hopefully that guy can go downfield because Des Bryant ain't going downfield.
No, I know.
Nor is Jordan Matthews. I hate to break it to you.
Jeez.
All right, 609-403-0973. Let's get to Brian and Kate May before we hit the text board. Brian, good afternoon, sir.
Hey, how you guys doing today?
Great, Brian.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, there's just so many things that.
Are you on a
didn't
Bluetooth
do.
or speaker, or are you just distant from us?
I was on speaker. Is this better?
It sounds good.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, Howie's just been nothing but disappointment. I mean, first of all, he did absolutely nothing, with the DeSean Jackson, and he knew. You guys just covered that. He absolutely knew we needed somebody. But how about our secondary? I mean, Darby has been toast all season long. Maddox, prior to the injury, was toast all season long. I don't even know what kind of effort, if any at all, he even made for Ramsey. So, I mean, what was it? It was 2 first-round picks, and everybody's saying that's too much. I mean, our secondary has been toast, and if you ask me, Penn State could score against that secondary. So
yeah, that kid number 1 could definitely score against the Eagles secondary right now, no doubt about it. But Maddox, to your point about Maddox is a slot corner or a safety. He's not an outside corner, and he had been playing some of those games because of injury out of position, and that's where he can't be an outside guy. But I think he's actually a decent player if you play him at the right position.
And then the other point is, do we need to question whether or not Jim Schwartz has to go or not? I mean, his schemes. I also think that's a big part of it. I mean, Jim got us a Super Bowl, but I really think that Super Bowl goes to one person, and that's Frank Reich.
Well, how do you out-scheme, though? I mean, to your point about
Appreciate
needing
the call,
bodies. Man. Yeah, see, that's what I don't get, which is if you're going to say guys like Darby are toast and the secondary is getting roasted and you're pointing to injuries and the reasons why this defense hasn't been, at the very least, healthy and then effective, how does that then fall on Jim Schwartz to the point at which he's fired?
Right. I mean, his whole system, is predicated on his front four getting pressure. Okay, now should he bend and sort of adjust given the fact that he obviously is sort of handicapped in that situation?
Right.
Okay, but then you're really putting that secondary on more of an island if you start sending guys. It's really, you can get burned that way. I don't know how much of this really falls on Schwartz as it is just the guys who are healthy, just are not like they had a defense last week. Okay, because I think they realized it was sort of like chum in the water with Trubisky, where they were really just after it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That front four played with an energy.
They did.
And they were just, and every now and then they'd send a guy like the guy that they just picked
kid,
up
right.
from Cleveland. Yeah.
Didn't he go to Bama?
Avery.
Where did he go to school?
I forget. I knew you were going to ask me that. No,
Sorry.
Gennard Avery.
Memphis.
Yeah, Memphis.
Thanks,
that's
Josh.
right. They sent him one. Everything. They'd send other guys because they knew what they were up against in Trubisky. They were like, look, this guy isn't going to beat us. But if they're up against a really good quarterback, they're going to probably have to play that more cautiously, right?
Yeah, I think so.
In a week and a half when Brady comes in here, you think they're going to be blitzing him?
No, I don't. Although, you don't know at that point. Like this offense, and again, it's one game against one defense, but the offense even in the second half, it didn't look dominant. But that's the thing. It's like, a guy will get you like 30 points, and then you look at the box score and you say, that guy had 30 points tonight? Yeah. That was the Patriots' offense. Right. Now, again, you look at the scoreboard, they got beat up. But they were able to move the ball, at least in the first half towards the end. And, they're able to move the ball in patches. And it was just these quick, small, little plays. It wasn't anything big. Mm-hmm. And I wonder if Jim Schwartz takes the opposite route and says, well, we know they're not going to go deep. Do we know that? I don't know. I mean, to your point, yes, you would think on the surface Jim Schwartz would not blitz Tom Brady at all because there are going to be ways in which he's going to get the ball out as fast as humanly possible to Edelman, Michelle, or anybody, James White. But if you're healthy back there and you know that you can add, like against Matthew Stafford, he blitzes the hell out of Matthew Stafford compared to everybody else.
Yeah, I know he does.
So I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is right now, but I'll say this to the caller's point about Jim Schwartz has to go at the end of the year. I don't know if I know we're not at that point where the blame to that extent, Harry, falls on Jim Schwartz. People can be frustrated all they want.
Yeah, I mean, there might be a sacrifice at the end of this year, and it might be a Mike Groh. You know, offense still stumbling out of the gates. Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You know, did you see the play that Golden Tate made last night? It was
That
an
one
Odell
hit, yeah.
Beckham Jr. type of catch on the
Yep.
in the near the corner of the end zone, like around the 3 or 4 yard line. I was just like, whoa.
I don't know if he did it on purpose, but he boxed the cornerback out as he was catching the ball. I mean, it was amazing because not only was the grab exceptional, and you're right, it was like an ODB, just snatch it with one hand out, but the defender, the cornerback, had no ability, like there was no way he could make a play on the ball
Right.
because of how Tate's body was like positioned. It was awesome. That was an amazing catch.
It really was.
All right, on the text board, Yo Eytan, how's this for a bad beat? Hit 2 out of 3 on a parlay. Only loss had the over on the Sixers. 223.5. Furkan Ben Simmons. Come on, man.
By a half a point, he lost.
Dave from Smithville.
Well, we're going to get to this
Oh.
with the Ben Simmons display last night.
And I actually had that. I thought that they would both. 223.5. I thought that was a good number.
Yeah,
to hit.
Furkan gave you 20 last night.
Yeah.
He was 4 out of 7 from 3-point land. I think we might have to get ready
No.
to apologize.
No, see,
I don't know.
this is what happens when you break every basketball game down. Every single basketball game down. Talk to me in a week.
Okay.
Talk to me when Joel Embiid is healthy, the roster shrinks a little bit, like the rotation a little bit, and Furkan is not getting consistent minutes,
Right.
and is thrown out there missing shot after shot.
These minutes are very valuable as we try to grow a bomber.
I'm sure
Okay.
they are. I'm sure they are. Might be worth getting another wide receiver at some point in case of another injury. Yeah, you would think so. I'm just saying if you're replacing a guy for injury or just adding another body, that's fine. But expectations of anybody out there coming in and either saving the season or just improving it noticeably, to me, is unfounded.
How bad could Greg Ward be is another question of mine. Is this just the arrogance of the front office saying, hey, we drafted the other guy. The other dude is an undrafted free agent. So we're going to play the guy we've drafted until we absolutely just wring everything out of this stone that we possibly can and finally have to just punt? Or is it just the fact that Ward isn't that good either, and he's no better than
Hollins? I was going to say two guys at once, Arthega and Hollins.
No, Hollins I'm talking about.
Yeah, I don't know.
How bad could he be?
We've seen this a lot where somebody shows up in the preseason. I mean, we haven't had any real play for Ward outside of the preseason.
Right. Which is where Arthega Whiteside shown.
Correct.
We were like, whoa, yeah, that's not bad.
It looks like the only main difference is special teams.
See, I forgot Hollins' name already. I want him
Because
out.
Hollins plays special teams. Greg Ward does not.
No, I know. Oh, I know. I hear that all the time.
Well,
that's the lament. That's the lament of all the coaching staff when they have to play a guy. Well, he's special teams. He's so valuable in special teams.
Well, yeah, that's
okay.
That's the big thing.
All right.
You know?
Yeah.
All right, 609-403-0973 is the text board.
We got Lombo coming up at 1
We
o'clock.
do. And Michael Cascade-Blomane is going to join us at 1:30.
Okay.
Bring in
Little
anyone.
hoops.
Yep. Get to what you wanted to talk about with Ben Simmons and the Sixers as well. It looks like Eagles are playing 11 on 8 every week. Guys in the league that we never heard of are making catches every game, and our receivers can't catch a cold. Mike in Turnersville.
Not a bad
Whatever
point.
happened to Mike Wallace?
Yeah, where's he at? Can he still run?
Wonder what Roddy White is doing right now.
Roddy White.
Yes.
When was the last time he played?
A little bit.
Yeah, it's been a while. A long time.
A little bit. Defenses know that outside of Jeffrey, no other wide receiver on the Eagles will barely get a look. They need to at least add a wide receiver to give the defenses something else to think about. Maybe J.J. Nelson